it'd be great to have a little introduction from yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you first joined ASOS, how it's been so far, what ASOS is for, I'm sure everyone knows, but just in case we've got a few people that aren't sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah, excellent. So I guess if I start, so my name's Jake. I work in the talent acquisition team here at ASOS. I've been here for, I believe this is my 7th week. So fairly new to the business, but I mean, I've been doing talent acquisition for the best part of 5 years. So my first in-house role, yeah, loving it so far. I mean, we'll delve into life at ASOS in a bit, but yeah, all good so far. Great people around and a good team. I guess in terms of who we are, I'm sure many of you guys watching are probably shocked with us. So we are an online retail business. We do our own brand stuff and also many other brands, anything from clothes, accessories, sunglasses, you name it, we sell it. But yeah, hopefully you guys have all purchased from us before, or certainly after this call you will do.
Fab. Thanks, Jake. So hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a senior talent partner here at ASOS. I've been in recruitment a long time now. Jake and I actually support certain areas of the business. So we actually look after our kind of customer care, supply chain and operations functions. So that's anything that would be in like your finance, procurement, legal, internal comms, space is what we sort of call facilities and property. And also we do PX, which is our people experience, so sort of the HR team as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, yeah, let's jump right into the questions. So we've got split up into 3 segments. So we've got company-based questions, more industry-specific questions, and then we've got some professional, personal ones at the end. So yeah, to start with, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice for graduates, post-grads, or current students that want to aspire to work for a brand like ASOS?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So I think with any role, not just at ASOS, I think it's imperative that you have a good CV first and foremost. So naturally, working in talent acquisition, we see hundreds and hundreds of CVs on a daily basis. And with that, I feel like a CV should always be clear and concise. The opening paragraph needs to obviously be relevant to the role that you're applying for. And even if you have no work experience and you're coming straight out of degree, something around your degree that may be modules you've studied that could link to the role, or anything, any experiences in your past life, or just a real passion for the brand, just make sure that you show that. But yeah, keeping it concise, because as I said, the gatekeeper will usually have over 100+ CVs to go through, and they can't be sort of wading through loads and loads of information. So you want to get your point across, and yeah, and just be clear with it. And with that as well, I guess in terms of the interview process, just make sure that you are well prepared to do your research on the company, and that could be anything from the financials, how they're doing in the last financial year, down to the product that they sell, or if there's anything that really stands out to you in terms of why you're attracted to the business. And then also research on the hiring manager as well, or line manager. So whoever's interviewing you, I think it's really important to know their background, where they've come from. And then you can maybe see the career path that they went on, and maybe it could be aligned to what you're looking to do in the future in terms of their progression and stuff like that. So I think both those things are really important. And also, if you do your research, it's then a lot easier to build rapport in that interview. So it could be something as small as the hiring managers studied at the same university as yourself, or has studied the same degree, and then instantly you can build that rapport when you're in the interview. And obviously that's going to help you feel more comfortable as well, and also make you look good and stand out. So yeah, I just think being prepared, having a good CV, I think that goes for any role, but certainly with ASOS as well, just showing a real passion for the brand. So I know we touched on a lot of people are probably shopped with us before and bought our products, but try and think outside of the box. Obviously, we do sell great clothes. That's why we're successful. But is there anything else that really stands out about what we do or who we are that really appeal to you? And just make sure that comes across in the interview. Because whilst it's important to sell yourself as well, you have to remember that the company needs to sell themselves. It's got to work for both parties. So if your passion aligns with our passion, then it's usually a good match. So yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have anything to add to that, Rachel?
No, I think Jake covered it off. And in fact, the last thing I was going to say is just the importance of an interview is a two-way street. It is as much our role to sell our business and the company to you, as much as, you sell it to us. So you should leave on a high note, whether you get that role or not. So definitely we put a lot of emphasis on our hiring managers to make the experience as positive as possible. Okay,
great. And obviously there's loads of, you're in a very crowded space at the moment. I think always. What would you say are the main reasons you find people join you over your competitors?
Yeah, so I guess again, linking back to what I said initially, people know the brand usually. So our whole sort of brand ethos and what we're about is being the #1 fashion destination for 20-somethings. So a lot of people in the room will probably be of that age range and have probably shopped with us. So usually people that apply for roles at ASOS would have had some sort of affiliation with the brand prior to applying, which is all obviously a good attraction piece from there. But outside that, there's loads of different things that we're doing at the moment. I think I heard the lady speaking before me spoke around sustainability and well-being, and that's a core focus of ours as well. So in 2010, we launched Fashion with Integrity. And in terms of where we are with that, I mean, we've made some great progress so far, but there's still certainly work to do. So we've set ourselves kind of 4 clear targets to hit by 2030. What the first one being net zero, so having no carbon emissions across anywhere within the business. Obviously, minimising our impact on the planet, which is on everyone's sort of to-do list at the moment, so to speak. So that's our first one. The second one is being more circular as well. So by that, we mean manufacturing our products from fibre to fabric and then being able to recycle everything and reuse it again, just minimising impact on the planet. There's also an emphasis on pre-loved items as well. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but we've got a Facebook Marketplace where you can sell on your items and they can go and find a new home and be reused. So again, it's just that recycling piece and making sure that nothing goes to waste. I guess the third clear goal is being transparent in everything that we do. So showing our success, but also presenting and tracking our progress against our goals and just having full transparency, because I think that's really important. It's all well and good saying we're doing this and that, but actually being transparent and showing that to people is really going to resonate with them and build trust in our brand as well. And then the final goal is diversity as well. So having a diverse workforce, starting from the top at exec level and then working its way down to obviously people like Rachel and then down to my level as well. So having a diverse workforce, it's not a tick box exercise either. I think if you've got a diverse workforce, you've then got more ideas floating around. Everyone's unique, so the more types of different people you can have in a business, it's only going to benefit the company as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. And you touched a bit on there about well, it'd be great if you could speak some more actually about you touched a bit on the sort of values ASOS holds and how that goes into the everyday running of the business.
Yeah.
Why do you think people choose to stay with ASOS for so long? Like, how is it those values that you spoke about?
I guess it's a combination of things. So our values are be authentic, be brave, be disciplined and creative. And I think if you take each of those, then everyone's got them instilled in them in ASOS. But I think in terms of why people stay, I mean, there's great career paths here. So if you do come in an entry level role, you will have clear objectives from day one within the business. So you'll know what you need to hit to get to your next level. And I was going to say this a bit later on, but in terms of retail as an industry, I think it's really agile. So you may start off, for example, like I started my career at M&S head office, Marks and Spencer, started off in supply chain and like an ops role, and then moved into merchandising, and now I do talent acquisition. So I think there are loads of different areas of the business that you can move into. It's not a linear career path. You don't have to start and say finance and stay in finance. You can move across different areas of the business. So I think the company's so vast and the options are so widespread that's probably why people stay as well, because you're never going to get bored, because you may do one thing for a few years, progress, and then you can move on. But yeah, certainly the values as well. I mean, from day one, I got told the values of the business, and it's all around the office, it's everywhere, and we really do try and live by them and install them in everything that we do as well.
Yeah, and actually probably just to go that one step further, the values are in our job descriptions, they're on our website. So if you're looking at anything from a career-based side of ASOS, it's very much there. We really pride ourselves on like developing our people as well, and we have kind of biannual reviews and an annual review, and part of that is really seeing how we're living up against our values. So we're authentic, brave, creative, and disciplined, and that is just installed in everything that we do, as Jake was saying there.
Okay, brilliant. And moving on to some more industry-specific ones, what would you say are 3 main benefits of having a career in your industry?
Yeah. So as I just touched on there, I think it is an agile industry. You can go into one role or one area of the business and then move on, like I explained about sort of my career path and what I've done. And I think retail as a whole as well is exciting. So there's always something changing, whether that be the pandemic has changed the way customers shop, so a lot of people have been shopping online, and obviously we benefited from that substantially during the pandemic. But Yeah, it's one of those industries that never stands still. No, well, certainly in my role, no 2 days are the same, no 2 weeks are the same. So it is exciting from that aspect. And I think just linking it back to obviously graduates, because that's what we're here to talk about. You won't really be restricted in terms of which degree you study. So you can study a geography degree, a business management degree, a maths degree, a finance related degree, whatever it is, and still work for ASOS. You're never going to be held back in terms of what you studied. So obviously that opens up many opportunities as well. So you don't have to have studied there buying a merchandising specific degree to go into one of our entry level B&M roles, for example. So I think from that perspective as well, it's probably quite unique in that aspect, because I know there's many roles in businesses where they want, you know, your academics to really align with the job that you're going for. So I think from that aspect as well, it's really useful. Certainly for the grads to know that as well. You know, even if you've done a geography degree and then all of a sudden you realize you don't really like geography anymore, whatever it is, and then you want to go to a retail company, you can still come and work for us. Don't ever be put off by what you studied, or think that it's not really relevant, because it will be in some way, shape or form.
Brilliant. And so, like, following on from that, what would you say, like, including that is, well, yeah, what would you say is a big misconception about working within your industry? Obviously, you mentioned there about, you know, people assuming they've got to have done something with retail or supply chain, fashion.
I think there's two things that I think is misconception. That is, retail is just like a shop floor role, and it's not. You know, even in the front office side of things, or anything in a store environment, the career path there is huge, and definitely the way stores are operating is definitely evolving. You know, the use of kind of online tech in a store. People want an experience from a store. It's not just about going to buy a product anymore. So I think there was a huge kind of career path in the stores alone that people forget about. You know, see it as like maybe a career that they do while studying, but it's actually a lot further than that. And then I would say on the other side of that is, I think there's many careers within a fashion head office that just aren't well known, you know, from like the buyers, the garment techs, you know, we have lean teams, we have people who are specific in finance. You've got, you know, certain marketing functions, you know, it's so much broader than just poor marketing. You've got like PPC, SEO, CRM, etc. So I think it is really diverse, and there is huge careers within the fashion kind of head office and retail careers that just aren't well publicized. So that's just, I think, a big misconception for me.
And just to add on to that as well, Rachel, I think in terms of the wider picture, I think there's a misconception around retail and the fashion industry. I know the pandemic hit everyone hard, but you know, you read articles about maybe retail's not in a good place, but I don't think that's actually the case. I think, just going back to what I said previously, it's about the way customers shop and just satisfying their needs. So if people are going to move to online shopping because for whatever reason they don't want to go into a store, whether they're, you know, a bit nervous around coronavirus or whatever that may be, it's then having that, making sure that your online service can provide for the customer. And even an online retail business like ourselves, we're now going to be opening a physical, or having a physical store footprint in the US, using a third party called Nordstrom. So I think it's just having that good mix to make sure that you can satisfy every customer's need. And I certainly don't think that retail or the fashion industry is like dead, so to speak. I think it's just changing and evolving. And I think if companies move with the times and like us are a bit ahead of the game, then they're already going to benefit.
And so, yeah, talking about being ahead of the game, what would you say? Yeah, I'd be interested to know what you think the next golden opportunity is within your industry.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the industry as a whole, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but in terms of payments, so companies like Klarna, for example, so it's all about buy now, pay later. And obviously from a customer's perspective, that's brilliant, because they can not only spread the cost over a period of time and it's not really hitting their bank account, but essentially if you think about it, they can buy 10, 15, 20 items, try with the clothes on, maybe they don't like 10 of them, and they can send them back and they actually haven't had any money taken out of their account, so to speak. So a lot of companies have already installed that, and I think that that's going to be certainly one for the future across most retail businesses, because as I said, it's just once a customer gets a sniff of that on one company, I think they're going to want it across the board. So certainly something around payments as well. And then obviously a small amount of companies are letting people pay like Bitcoin and all of this kind of digital currency as well. So it's been interesting to see where that goes in the future. But I certainly think in terms of buy now, pay later, that's going to kind of fly.
Yeah. And then probably just to add a few things in there from like ASOS specifically, you know, what we were looking at is like our global growth. So, you know, we currently ship to 196 countries, but we want to be doing it everywhere in the world. So that's certainly a big piece. And I guess from there, the supply chain logistics that support that is a huge area of growth. And within then the supply chain logistics, automation of our warehouse and fulfillment centres is a huge piece of work. And then obviously like direct to consumer. So where we supply a lot of brands on there, what we always want to do is cut out us holding the stock and send it straight to the consumer. So D2C is a big focus for us as well.
Okay, brilliant. And to move on to some more personal ones now, where would you two, and you can, pick and choose who answers these, or answer them together. Where would you say, what would you say is the most important lesson your career has taught you?
Should I start on that one, Rach?
Yeah, you go first, Jake.
So I think there's loads of things, if I think back to where I am now and where I've come from and what I've done in between, that kind of play into obviously my success. But I think in terms of lessons learned, I think the main thing that stands out for me is never be complacent. So if you're complacent, then you'll naturally start to drop the ball and make mistakes. And in a competitive industry, which most industries are and companies are as well, it's important to make sure that you're consistent, because as I said, complacency can lead to mistakes, and there's always going to be someone or many people that are going for that same promotion as you, or want the next step like you do. So if you do become complacent, and it's easy to let complacency creep in, when you've got your feet under the table and you know what you're doing a bit, it's like it becomes second nature. So I think it's on that note as well, it's important to always push yourself, and if you feel yourself getting complacent or too comfortable, then ask for that new project to be given to you, or whatever it is. Push yourself outside your comfort zone, because you're only going to benefit from that and grow and develop as well. Another thing is always learning from people around you. So I mentioned about diverse workforce, and one of the great things about that is you can always learn from different people. So take maybe one thing from each different person in your workplace in terms of how they do something, and it may relate to you, and you can add it into your daily work life as well. And take learnings as well on board. So you're always going to make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Rachel does. Everyone does. So I think.
I know what you're talking about, Jake.
No, she never does. She's perfect. When you do make a mistake, just take that learning on board. Mistakes are mistakes, and they are natural. So what I think is important to do is take constructive criticism and mistakes as a learning curve. Take them on board, and then next time, obviously, don't do it again, hopefully. But take learnings on board, because again, you're only going to grow and develop as an individual. But be consistent and don't be complacent, I'd say.
Good.
One more thing on that, actually, just thought of, never burn your bridges either. So every industry will be incestuous. So from recruitment to retail, whatever job you go in, you'll know someone who knows someone that's worked with someone that, if that makes sense. So never leave anywhere on a bad note, even if you worked for a company and it didn't quite work out. Just make sure that you've always got good personal relationships and working relationships, because the last thing you want is someone to maybe mention a comment to someone else who then knows someone that may be potentially hiring you. So never burn your bridges, and never leave a company on a bad note as well. I think that's really important.
Okay, great. And sort of going off those lessons you spoke about, where would you say has your success come from? Has it come from the people around you, your tenacity, the values that you have, or something greater than that?
I think it's a combination of things. So I know this is another question that's later on down the line, but in terms of role models, so I've always had a good family upbringing, and I'd say my two main role models are my parents. So just looking at their work ethic and morals, that's something that I've really admired from a young age and tried to take on board in my own life and working life as well. And then in terms of success for myself without role models, consistency, like I mentioned before, and as you mentioned, tenacity and drive. So prior to ASOS, I was in agency recruitment, and as you can imagine, it's a very KPI financial led job, and you have to have tenacity. I think resilience is a key factor as well. Not everything's always going to go your way in any role, so being resilient, being able to bounce back up, and okay, fine, it didn't go the way I wanted it to, but let's try again, let's go again. Because if you start letting things get to you too much, then it's only going to bring you down and will affect your work. Tenacity and resilience. And then I think also, again, like I touched on previously, just pushing yourself that bit further, taking a risk. So it doesn't even have to be anything major, but maybe like leaving a permanent role for a fixed term contract, or a temp role if you really want to work for that business, and get your foot in the door, because if you never take that step or that risk, then you may not ever work for that company that you really want to work for, and you may initially be on a temp contract or an FTC and then get offered a permanent contract later down the line. So take a risk, be brave, to link it back to ASOS, and don't get too comfortable, because as soon as you get comfortable, I think that's when you can become a bit, maybe a bit, not for want of a better word, not bored in your role, but you always want to be, developing and progressing. So never let yourself get comfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Have you got anything to add, Rach?
I think you've covered lots of things there. I think a few things that do stand out, I guess, is don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's probably better to try not to take too much on. It can be a bad habit to say yes all the time. I think learning when to just know limits and expectations so you can manage them well, because I think that can be something you're so keen to please people that you then don't deliver anything or deliver one thing well. So I'd definitely say just knowing capability and expectations, and I think having a strong connection. Like most of the career moves I've made have been through connections and kind of just being able to talk to people. So definitely it's worthwhile kind of start building them up from the beginning now, because like Jake said earlier, you never know who you might meet later on down the line. So it's really good to have those connections from the start.
And I can see in the comments as well, I think it's Fiona that said, take the risk to believe in yourself. And I think that's really important as well. Always believe in yourself, because if you don't have belief yourself, then no other person's going to believe in you. So always believe in yourself when you're being brave and taking that risk as well.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Just to round off the question section, and bringing it back to sort of recruitment, careers, etc. How do you guys think the career market has changed now for early professionals and graduates and soon-to-be ones like myself, in terms of getting into it's obviously very competitive, and it's a lot more personal brand driven, portfolio driven.
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed, and what advice would you have to sort of adapt with that change?
I think in terms of, so if I think about my role as a talent acquisition consultant, I think it's certainly a candidate led market. So there are loads and loads of candidates, as you mentioned. There's loads of competition. In terms of what that means, it certainly doesn't mean that there's no roles out there. For example, ASOS entry-level roles, just in buying the merchandise, I think we've got like 50 live roles at the moment. So there are roles out there, but for those 50 roles, for example, there'll be 3 times, 4 times the amount of candidates going for that one job. So I think it's important to stand out, like you mentioned as well. And I think going back to what I said earlier in terms of the CV piece, doing your research before the interview, all of those things are only going to help. And I think it's a really good thing what you said about a personal brand as well. But being a grad and maybe not having any sort of real work experience, it's hard to build that personal brand. So I think going into your first role, just being yourself. You are unique, and we kind of live by the saying that be whoever you want to be at ASOS. So I think if you bring your best self to the interview and bring your best self to work every day, we can't ask any more than that. And we don't want you to be any specific type of person. Just be yourself. That's as important as it gets, really, and show a positive attitude with a willingness to learn, and then the rest will kind of fall into place if you've got those personal attributes. Because whilst you haven't got a CV with sort of 4 or 5 different job roles on, we can't expect you to speak about work experience that you haven't done before, and you may not have a personal brand, but all we can ask you to do is just show that good attitude and be ambitious and show our values in your personal life, and then go from there, really. And as I said, the rest should fall into place. Have you got anything to add on that?
Yeah, anything to add?
No, I think that's most of it covered, Jake.
Perfect. So that's the end of the questions. I can see we've got a few questions from our audience, but you guys also have a presentation, so it's up to you really what you'd like to do next.
The presentation pretty much just sums up what we've just spoken about. So happy to kind of share that if you just want me to flick through the presentation, or I can share it after and send it out to you guys. How do you kind of want to play it?
I think it's up to you, really. We can just jump straight into the questions, and if we run out of questions, which I don't think we are going to, because we've had 14 come through already, then we can just send the presentation out afterwards. So so that everyone who's listening, all the people who are speaking today, there's going to be tons of links and information coming out about their company, careers, websites, all that great stuff as well in emails afterwards. So
Brilliant.
get that out, and if we do run out of questions, then we'll jump onto the deck. But I think it will
Sounds
be
good.
okay. I think we'll be all right. So we've got a few here. So let's just go for Rosanne. Sorry, apologies for anyone whose name I say slightly wrong. Do you offer graduate programs, and how often do you hire graduates?
So we don't have, we do have some graduate roles, but a lot of them, a lot of the roles we have are just entry level roles. So for example, a lot of the roles across our buying and merchandising team. So as Jake just mentioned, I think we've got 50 plus roles at the moment. They're graduate roles, but they're not accredited to any kind of apprenticeship scheme. We do have some roles in like our finance team that we do hire on a kind of cyclical basis, and that's generally hiring in around January to March with the start date of the summer, so sort of July, and that would be more for your kind of finance analysts, so anyone who wanted and then we do support with like your CIMA or ACCA studies, but it is definitely something we're growing as a business. So we've just launched one within our corporate responsibilities team, we've just launched some within our procurement team, and those are going to be accredited. But you know, the one thing I'd say with apprenticeships really taking off, if somebody had a passion to do something and wanted to reach out, then you know, we are open to ideas in terms of how we can widen our kind of widen the company and the roles that we have.
No, fantastic. No, I think it's something that obviously a lot of people who are going to be watching this event, not just now, but all the people this is going out to afterwards, because I don't know how much was explained, because I know you Rachel, you're coming onto this just today. We're sending this out to tons of students as well. So there's going to be, I think it's 1,600 career advisors across the UK who are going to get access to this sort of information. So it's really, really important for people to understand, the process that you need to go through to get into a company. So thank you for coming through that. So I finished uni. They've got another one here from Charlotte Coleman. I finish uni next year. When would be best to apply for the buying admin administrator job? I think rather than us go through individual things here, let's talk about just in general. Is there a better time to apply for roles at ASOS? I
don't think there's a better time, but I would say generally when we're looking for roles, we want people to start within a reasonable time frame. So I appreciate, kind of looking when you're looking to graduate, but I'd say probably start doing it when you're kind of thinking about starting work within the next month or 2 months. Because then it also means that you can focus on completing your degree and getting that out of the way, because that should be the most important thing at the time. And then you have that time to apply for roles and really put the focus into it. And I think with sort of the roles within the kind of commercial, like the buying, merchandising, marketing, they're always around. So there's not a fear of missing something like that. And anything that's a bit more specific, like the finance that I mentioned, we would start recruitment and say like, we'll open it up towards the end of this year. We're looking to make hires by March, but again, our expectations is they don't start till July, so it fits in with the studying. So yeah, I would say generally when you're ready to start a role, start applying, unless it's a specific one that will be on the job ad as well, that looking to start when and where. I think that's quite right for your areas and things, isn't it, Jake?
Yeah, similar really. I think there's no better time to apply than another, but as Rachel said just that time frame piece, once we are in the process of hiring, we want someone to kind of start as soon as possible. Obviously, so we don't really want someone to kind of be applying and then they say, oh, we can't start for 2-3 months, because that's just not going to work from our side. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, apply whenever you want, really. Whenever you see a role, just go for it.
Perfect. And I think just to add to that, that doesn't mean you can't start networking and doing your sort of personal brand piece until you're just about to apply for a role. Do start doing that. You could even start doing that 2-3 years before, start making connections at companies, start building out that connection base and the people that you're speaking to. But obviously, don't apply for the role if you're not going to be starting for 2 years, right? But it's important to build up that
I think that's really important as well. I think anyone on this call, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with Rachel on LinkedIn, and just start building out your network, because if I got a message from someone that says, I'm graduating in 6 months' time or whatever it is, I'd be like, oh, they're keen, they're actually on the ball, that they're trying to build foundations for when they are ready to get a job. So I think that's really, really important. And again, will make you stand out from the crowd as well.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about this show don't tell piece when I'm speaking to people, and it's it's very, very easy to say I am proactive, but it's much harder to show that you're proactive, and that sort of thing apply. Connecting with people 6 months beforehand is going to show a bit of that proactivity rather than just writing it down on a CV. Fantastic. Brilliant. So we've got another one here. Let's say this is a great question, by the way. I really love this question. Let's say a year after a candidate is successful in acquiring the job, how do you know you've made the right decision to hire them? So I think the question here is, what does good look like 12 months on? What would that person have to have done in that 12 months for you to go, best hire I've ever made? What would that look like?
I think it's a combination of things. So I think first and foremost, before 12 months, if you've made the right hire. I think you can tell fairly early on. Obviously, there are probation periods and stuff like that, but you start to get a feel for how they're working on a daily basis. And obviously, as I said, there will be objectives in place from your first day. So in terms of what good looks like after 12 months, I guess someone that's hitting their KPIs and objectives and goals, someone that's fitting in from a team dynamic perspective, someone that, is getting on with everyone and is trying, even though they may have not picked up things. It doesn't matter if you come into a role and don't pick up things straight away. We don't expect anyone to do that, but someone that's showing the right, the right actions and the right attitude to want to learn, to want to better themselves and to get a grasp of things. So I think a combination of all of those things. But obviously, if you get to the 12-month period and you have your yearly review and you smash all of your targets, then you've done a good job and we know that you're in the right place and we've made the right hire. But yeah, I don't think it takes 12 months to know if you made the right hire. And hopefully the interview process has been rigorous enough to kind of air out any sort of doubts that you may have. So yeah, it's rare that you will make a bad hire, but I think both parties will know when it's the right fit for the candidate and also whether we've made the right hire from the company perspective as well.
Fantastic. Anything on that, Rachel?
I guess just probably in terms of that 12 months, I think for me it would be that they're really comfortable in their role. They could look back at the job description they were hired into and say, yes, I can do all of these tasks that are on the job description. And if anything, to say you'll be a really standout candidate is they'd probably proactively said, I know the next step in my career would be this role. Can I see the job spec? Can I start looking at what I need to be doing to make that move to the next role? So for me, it's that, yes, in a year, I've ticked everything on the job spec and I'm doing it really comfortably, confidently, and that's great. And then it's, I'm already looking to that next step to say, I want to do more and I want to take on more. So for me, that would be a sign of a great hire, like Jake says, but also for them to feel really comfortable in their role.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's a two-way street, like Jake was saying, and like you were saying, you'll both know. You'll both know quite early on if this is going to be right. And there's always the opportunity to I think if people are feeling like they're doing the slightly wrong thing or they've gone into a role that's slightly not right for them, I would always say just speak up about that as early as possible, because
definitely.
I think that's really important as well. If you are struggling, whether it be a system or just a process, even if you think it may be really minor or you should be getting it, speak up, because no one can help you if we don't know that you need help. So go to your line manager, ask a colleague, and 9 times out of 10 they'll be more than happy to help anyway. So never feel stupid asking a question. Ask loads of questions. I ask loads of questions, and it's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah, fantastic. Great, brilliant. Let's go on to the next one. So I don't have a name for this one, but hi everyone. I'm a current MA fashion graduate currently looking for work. I wanted to know what it is you would be looking for in a portfolio. Also, is there an email we can send our portfolio to for advice?
So I think in terms of advice on a portfolio, maybe we can come back to you on that. We'll link in with our commercial team and see what the best thing to do is for that. I would say for a portfolio, think about your style and your handwriting. So, what is your style? What is maybe do you have a product category that you are looking to do? And make sure it's either tailored or it can be open. But I think about the customer, the person you're applying to. So for ASOS, we have, we've got our collusion range, we've got our ASOS designs. So if you're trying to apply for that, we're going to be looking for handwriting that is similar to that. It's either a step forward, it's got something abstract to it. But if it's very kind of runway and catwalk, that's probably not the direction that we would be going in. So I think tailor it to the people you're applying for.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's really good advice. So make sure that you're focusing on who it is you're applying for, and much like a CV where you would edit that depending on the company that you're applying to, not obviously the entire CV, but you tailor it slightly to the role. Do the same with your portfolio. I think that's really good advice. Okay, great question here from Taylor. Could you tell us a little bit more about the recruitment process? How long it would typically take to get notification after application? And I guess from my point, to add to that, what's the interview process like, or does it differ depending on different departments?
Yeah, happy to take that one. So I think in terms of the process, it's fairly similar across different business areas. Having said that, for example, it depends on the seniority level of the role. So for an entry level position, it would usually be a two-stage process. So you'd apply on the ASOS website, for example, would then usually reach out and ask what your minimum salary expectation would be. And if you do have a notice period, what that is. If you haven't got a job, then obviously you'll be immediately available, which is great. We'll aim to get back to you as soon as possible. There's no set time frame, but certainly from application to us reaching out, if we are interested, it should be no more than sort of a week to 2 weeks. And then, as I said, it'll be a two-stage process. So the first stage would usually be with the line manager and probably someone else from their team as well. Competency-based interview, nothing sort of too out of the ordinary, and then we'd usually progress 2, 3 or 4 candidates to final stage as well. And then there'll be some more pressing questions about the actual role itself and maybe some specific tasks. And then at senior finance analyst level, for example, at that stage, we then would ask the candidates to do a short presentation. But again, that varies on different business areas and different roles. But usually a two-stage process, and then after that, it's fairly quick in terms of us making a decision and getting the ball rolling in terms of bringing you on board, I guess.
Fantastic. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Rachel?
But probably the only thing is occasionally, and depending on the kind of job role, it may be that we do an assessment centre for the hire. So that would be kind of a one-stop shop where you'd come in and do kind of a group task. You'd have a one-on-one interview, and then there would also be a task that you do by yourself. And in that frame, we'd kind of get everyone, all the decision makers would be in that room, so that it is a one-stop shop as well, and that would probably be with us, be with us for a couple of hours. But the prior process to that is, as Jake said, we'll reach out, get some details, and then move from there.
I think that's really important. I think it's important for people on here to understand that getting all that done in one day is quite a task, and getting all the people involved that need to be at that assessment centre. Some companies I've worked with in the past that will be dragged out for a couple of weeks. And realistically, getting all that done in one day is not just better for the candidate experience or the professional coming in, but also for you guys as well. So yeah, it's good to hear that you've got that all in one day condensed in a couple of hours. Okay, here's a question that I was wondering as well. Do you need to be in fashion to work at ASOS?
Nope, I don't have a fashion background at all. I wouldn't say I'm a fashionista at all either. So
stop it, really.
I'm at ASOS. Yeah, I mean, I love the brand. I shop all the time. I do like clothes and trainers, but I don't have a fashion background at all. There are people, for example, in the buying teams that I'm sure do have fashion related degrees and have come from that sort of background. But no, going back to what I said earlier, you could have any degree on the planet and still have a job at ASOS if you're obviously relevant to the role.
Definitely. And I think as well, with roles becoming broader and also drilling into more specifics, with data analytics coming in as a huge part of our business as well, lots of those people won't come from that fashion background, and we don't want to see, some of the best hires we've had come from the post office, they come from Sainsbury's, some of the other kind of just FMCG retailers. So yeah, we are open where people come from. There's definitely not a hard line that we follow at all.
Fantastic. Good. So here's quite an interesting one as well. So this is from Fiona. Hello, I'm doing a fashion business course and I'm looking into doing an internship. That question's just gone. We'll come back to that if that ever pops up again. One from Megan. Are there specific business analyst roles, and what are the learning development opportunities within the company?
So there are specific business analyst roles, and in fact, if anything, we have a variety of them depending on the different business area you're in. So yes, there's lots of opportunity there, and I think in terms of progression, we have a great academy here at ASOS, which is our kind of learning and development team, and they have absolutely oodles of content in terms of developing yourself. So whether it be from kind of short online courses around your Excel skills to face-to-face learnings on how to be more confident speaking at events to I want to become a stronger manager. So there is a whole host of things that we have at our fingertips here at ASOS. And then we also have a kind of huge budget, and we use the apprenticeship levy. So if people want to do any sort of courses, we are absolutely on board with people reaching out and saying, I'd like to do XYZ. I think Jake kind of touched on it when we were talking earlier, but one of the things that I would say is probably no one's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, oh, by the way, you should go forward for this. It really is about pushing yourself. So kind of understanding where you want to go and develop, and telling us what you need as well. We'll obviously guide you to a certain degree, but you need to push your career as well. So what is it you would like to do? Where do you maybe feel you've got skills gaps?
And
ask us for the help.
Yeah, and what I was going to say on that now as well, just to add, I think from my experience so far at ASOS, the company are really good at doing that as well. So like Rachel said, if you show that ambition and that drive to kind of progress and develop yourself, then you'll have weekly, bi-weekly meetings with your line manager. And if you want that next role, that next project, they will give you every opportunity to do that. So I would say ASOS is a really good place in terms of helping you develop as well, if you show the right attitude.
Fantastic, brilliant. I hope that's helped, Megan. So got another one here from Jade. Does ASOS offer? So I think we touched on this graduate schemes part before, but the question is about rotations in different departments. So I guess a better way of forming this question would be: would there be an opportunity to work across multiple different departments at that entry level?
Yeah, so I think if I just take finance, for example, so finance offer like a 2-year rotation scheme. So you'll go into one role and then do a role for 6 months and then move around. Obviously giving you different experience and giving you a flavor of what each role could look like, and then after the 2 years you can kind of then choose what you want to do from there. But from an entry level perspective, I think, as I said before, retail as an industry is agile and ASOS is agile. So if you come into the business, say for example in an MAA position or a junior buying position or whatever it may be, and then you decide after a year or 2 years you want to move around or go into a different area of the business, then your line manager will fully support that as well. So yes, we do have some areas of the business that offer actual 2-year rotation schemes, but I think across the business, ASOS is a place where you can go where you want, really. The world is your oyster, so to speak. You can really be as agile and as flexible as you want, and gain all the experience that you require.
Fantastic. Anything on that, Rachel?
I guess the only probably thing, finance is a great example of where they have that rotation. I think in some areas, if you wanted specifically to maybe have a slight rotation around, say like buying, merchandising, design, then do a bit of marketing, you would probably have to do kind of 3 short internships with us rather than one program that flexed across all of them. That's something we don't have at the moment. But definitely something we could look at doing.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay, so on to the next one. I found that question again from Fiona. So I'm doing a fashion business course and looking into doing an internship. I know a lot of fashion brands look for creative CVs. This is what ASOS looks for as well. So for people who don't know what that means, sometimes people will have not just sort of a standard CV with text on it, but they'll do something creative around that CV about their experience. So is that something that you look for, or you prefer a normal sort of CV?
I think, I was listening in earlier, and I think somebody said, and I think it's true, that recruiters generally look at a CV for 4 seconds before they've kind of lost interest. So it's great to have some creativity on a CV, put your personality on it, but make sure the key details are visible. Like, we want to see your name. We want to know how we can call you. There's nothing worse than not being able to find your number to call you. And we want to know what you want to do. What is it you have trained in, and what do you want to do here at ASOS? So I think absolutely bring your own style, bring some creativity to it, but please make it so we can see where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to talk about what you could and want to do for a company, especially at this level, at entry level, because there isn't a ton of experience that you can sort of call on in these sort of things. You can't talk about a plethora of key achievements over the last 10 years. To really talk about what you want to do, what you're looking to achieve, and what your career objectives are, I think is really important as well. Because you can then get an idea of, well, this is what this person is looking to do. But I think that the most important thing for recruiters is we need to see that information. It's got to be clear. And please don't forget a number or an email address, because it's the worst. Getting a fantastic CV through and going, I don't know how to contact this person. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Jake?
No, I think Rachel's covered it all, to be fair.
Fantastic. Okay, so hopefully that's answered your question, Fiona. I think there's. Let's go for another one. I think that was from a previous. Yeah, that was from a previous one, I think. Please, can you please share any internship links of EY and ASOS as well? We will be doing that after the event. No worries. Do you guys? This is from Bethania. I hope I'm saying that right. Do you guys take postgrad interns? I'm an international student doing my full-time masters here in London, but with a career on online retail in Brazil, which would be lovely to continue at ASOS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is this coming sort of back to a visa question?
I don't
know.
don't
So,
know.
I mean, in terms of where you study, absolutely no problem for us. You know, that's fine. And visa-wise, we do have quite a good ability to hire from anywhere in the world. We have a good visa option here, so potentially it's worth trying.
Okay. Fantastic. It actually leads me into the next question. You know, what would be the best way for overseas candidates to get the attention of ASOS? And I think it's probably sort of a similar answer, right? You know, just through that application process. But
Yeah.
You know, if there's anything you'd like to add?
I think just probably coming back to that same point of just being clear, you know, I am maybe in this part of the world, but this is how I can be where you need me to be. And, you know, if you need a visa, say that at the beginning so we don't maybe hit a roadblock later. Yeah, just be honest and clear.
Fantastic. Hello, this is from Sheer. I think that's how you say it. So I'm a graduate fashion designer, and I would like to know what qualities are you looking for in for design positions or people going into design positions?
I think, like I touched on earlier, and like we've spoken about throughout the session, really, I think if you don't have any prior work experience that is going to be relevant to the role, I guess it's just that, you know, showing the right values, and we've spoken about, you know, be authentic, be brave, creative and disciplined. Those are our core values at ASOS. So I think if you can show maybe experiences in your life that you've demonstrated those values in your interview, then obviously that would stand out to us. But yeah, just showing the right attitude, positive, willingness to learn, all of those good things that we've spoken about. I think that they will stand out to us no matter what the role is that you're going for. Obviously, if you've got previous experience that can link to the role as well, great. But from a graduate perspective, I think it's just knowing our values and how you can be aligned to them from a personal perspective if you don't have that work experience.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. We'll do a few more questions until about sort of 5 or 10 to because we've got to move over to a different session then. Let's go for the next one. That's another international question. I've just graduated from university with a languages degree. Being that ASOS has an international audience, how important are languages at ASOS? Great question.
Well, I think ASOS, but everywhere, languages are a huge benefit. So to be able to speak another language is brilliant. You know, we do have offices in Berlin. We have, you know, teams in Atlanta and a small kind of team in Hong Kong as well. So any kind of German speaking is great. We also have kind of customer care team, and whilst we outsource quite a lot of the volume of the people that work there, we do have kind of model offices, so they are making sure that what we do is excellent. So we have Russian, French, German, Spanish. I don't know anything else, Jake. They're the kind of key languages that we have. So anybody that has that ability to speak those languages is already a benefit. I think as well, having, you know, those language skills as we as a business grow globally, people that have insights into those territories are you know, an amazing asset to the business as well.
Yeah, even if it's something as small as, you know, you may be from France or Italy and you can tell us about your shopping experiences out there. As Rachel said, that insight into the retail market out there would be hugely beneficial to us as we try and expand globally.
No, fantastic. So this individual, James, French and Spanish. That's
Perfect.
Sounds along exactly right down the right sort of lines. Fantastic. Okay. So I think this question is: are there any opportunities in ASOS for information professionals, so IT professionals? I'm assuming the answer is yes. But yeah, is that a big part of your business?
A huge part of our business. So I think whilst we're probably known as an online retailer, if you would speak to somebody that work in our tech team, they would say we're actually a tech business. So we're roughly 3,500 employees, and half of those are IT based. So whether they're developers, engineers, just IT consultants that are supporting the business. So we have vast opportunities across tech, and we are forever growing those areas out. So yeah, for us to deliver what we do for you guys as customers, we have to have the best tech out there. So yeah, it's ever evolving and growing. So yeah, please send in your CV now.
Apply here. And there's been a couple of questions on here about how to apply. Again, all that information, if people have just joined this last bit, I'm going to be sending all that over afterwards. If you're here on this page, then I've got your email address and you'll get all that information across. Fantastic. So here's one that's quite interesting as well: remote work. What's the plan? You know, is there a lot of remote work at the moment, or are you going back to a hybrid model? What's the operation?
So, Rachel, did you want to take that one?
No, you go.
Yeah, so just to say, we call it dynamic working. It's just another word for sort of flexible working. So the plan as such is, or the view from the people at the top is that you should be in the office maybe more than you're at home, but they're happy for kind of people to do 1 or 2 days from home per week. But I think it's very much dependent on your role and obviously the business needs as well. So, for example, in my role, if I don't have any team meetings or I don't need to be in the office and I do want to work from home one day a week, then I can do that. But for example, if there was a collaborative team meeting that I needed to attend in the office in person to share ideas, and it would be better for me to be there, then I should be in the office. So I think it's very much dependent on your role. I know a lot of for example, the buying and merch teams are in 5 days a week because, you know, they're there with a product. They need to see, feel, touch the product, so they need to be in the office. So we do have a dynamic, flexible working policy as such, or approach, but it's dependent on business needs, your roles needs, and also what area of business you're in.
Yeah, and I think just to echo what Jake's saying, or to add on to it, is that, you know, we pride ourselves on our culture here at ASOS, and we can't build and have an inclusive culture if we're all working remotely all the time. And you know, we're really fortunate. The people that we have here are fantastic, and you want to be in the office to see them. You kind of lose a little bit of that on Teams. So we're definitely flexible, but we, you know, to make kind of the magic happen, you need to come into the office a little bit as well.
And yeah, just to add as well on the office piece, the office, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it or pictures of it, but it is really, really cool. So you would want to be in the office anyway.
It's a great environment.
All sort of good stuff. There's a gym on site and all of that. Yeah, it's a really, really great office. So there's no reason to kind of sit at home 5 days a week because you'd be missing out.
I think one of the first comments we had this hour was, "What a great background, Rachel."
Yes. Yeah. I know. And I mean, this is nothing compared to, we're in the basement, but kind of upstairs and above, the floors are amazing. There's, you know, live music on Fridays. There's DJs. As Jake said, there's a gym, but there's also beauticians and things here. So they really create a great experience for us in the office. So yeah, it's worth coming in.
Amazing. So that's it for the questions then from the Ask a Question. There's a couple more that have come through, but I'll try and answer them in the emails afterwards because we've got to move over to a different session. But thank you so much for your time. I mean, I think it was a really good way of doing that format. I will be sending out all the details afterwards. Jake, I'll have a chat with you on Monday about getting that deck out as well to people.
Yeah,
thank you so much for all your insights, and they've been incredibly useful. So yes, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, guys.
Have a great time. Bye.
Bye.